All right, welcome everyone to our second session in this series of Brightspace Assessment PD. We're going to be looking today at how do I use Brightspace to automate my gradebook. And what we're going to cover in here is non-numeric grades, which we'll use through a thing called grade schemes. It'll basically allow you to create things like letters, levels, yes, nos, things like that. We'll then look at curriculum expectations and how you can load those into your course or create your own if you have specific learning goals you want to create and use. We'll show you how to attach those to those expectations to your assessments. And then we'll look at automating your gradebook, which is essentially just attaching your grade items to assessments. You can do that in assignments, quizzes, discussions, and portfolio. And then we will also look at the grade item options, and there's a lot of them. So you can create those numerical grade items or use those with expectations or rubrics or the select boxes. And then finally, we'll cover exemptions for specific students or for the entire class. All right, so the first thing we'll jump into here is our gradebook. We'll select grades in the nav bar. And actually, the first thing I want to show you is right now we are defaulting to this manage grades section, but we can change that default to enter grades if you'd like. You can do that by selecting this settings cogwheel and then selecting down here where you want that default to go. So if you want that to default to manage grades, keep it there. If you want it to go to enter grades, you can change that as well. I'm going to change it to enter grades and select save. And that way, when I go back to my gradebook, I'm on enter grades rather than manage grades. It's totally up to you with which one you're looking to do there. But let's jump into non-numeric grade items and schemes. And this is where you'll notice enter grades, manage grades, and schemes. Schemes is up at the top here. There are some default schemes you can access. There's one called percentage. That's the default one. You can also use a level, plus or minus, and a yes, no. Now you can create your own if you'd like, but if you want to take a look at what level plus minus is, you click on that. It's actually going to give you a level range depending on what those starting percentage are and what the level is. So level 1 minus starts at 50% up to 53, and it would assign them a value of 52 and so on in here. Okay, so you can assign a scheme to your grade items, and then that's what would actually show up inside the gradebook. So if I go back into manage grades and I want to create a new grade item, I can select now any of these different types, but what I'm actually going to choose is this one called select box. Now select box is going to allow me to not have a numerical grade, it'll be a non-numeric grade. So I'm just going to call this test item for our name, DI for the short name, and I'm going to put it into the category of LS3. Now, as I scroll down here, you'll notice that it's going to give me the same number of maximum points. I can change that to 5 if I'd like. But then under grade scheme, notice I have the option of choosing a couple of these based on the select box. If I chose percentage, then it would have been a numerical grade item, but level plus minus or yes, no is going to be the grade scheme that allows me to choose from those levels or just a yes, no. I'll select level plus minus, leave everything else the same, and then I'll select save and close. Now that item inside of our grades, you'll see under LS3 will no longer say numeric, it'll say select box. When I go in to assign grades to that in the enter grades section, you'll notice I have to find that over under LS3 over here. You can see TI, and I can select enter grades. Come down here and you can see all of the different select box items. So I can select either level 4 minus, level 3 minus, level 4, level 1, level R, and save and close those. Yes, I'm sure. And then when I go back into my grades, you'll notice that's how they come out. So they don't show a numerical value, but they are actually calculating a numeric value and putting that into the overall learning skill 3 or learning goal 3 subtotal. Okay, so what displays for a student is the level, but it is actually converting it back to a numerical value inside there. Now you'll notice that the yes, no, and levels were an option for you to choose, but you can actually create or modify your own schemes by selecting schemes up at the top. And if you want to go based on one that's already been created, such as the level plus minus, you can select more actions and then copy. It'll ask you which one you want to copy from. Once it loads up the schemes, you can select plus minus, copy that, and now you can go in and edit that grade scheme inside here. So maybe you don't want these to be levels, but you want them to be letters. I'm just going to give it a short name of LTR. And instead of level R's, right, and 4 pluses and that, you can go A, A plus, A minus. You can change your ranges as well. So maybe an A plus for you is 95, or maybe 90. And then they're going to get a 95 when they actually, if they get assigned an A plus. If they get an A, you could say that's from 80, and they'll get an 89 and so on, right? So you can change all of these. You can also remove sections that you don't want very easily. And then once you've saved and closed that, that scheme will be available for you to apply to any of your grade items or in your gradebook. One other really cool thing you can do with schemes is if you're creating a grade item, you can still have a numeric value, but then what you're going to do is when you create that, call it sample, when we scroll down all the way to the bottom, you can again give it your maximum points. Let's say this one's out of 15. Notice the grade scheme is a default one of percentage, but I can select that to be a level plus minus. And then what will end up happening is in my grade book, when I go and assess that, what will end up happening is I'll put in a numerical value for it, but then it will demonstrate or show that as an actual a level plus minus. So that one's going to be way over here under Sam. And if I go enter grades here, I'll just give Pam something. Remember, it's out of 15. So if I give her a 14 and Creed a 10, and I'll save and close those, when I go back into the grades, what will be shown over here is, notice, a level 4 plus and a level 2. Okay, so you can actually display those through the grade scheme by using your grade scheme there, as opposed to just showing the numerical values. This can be great if you're just looking for students to understand their progress, but not be so concerned about the actual numerical values of their grades. All right, let's head over and get the curriculum expectations in here. If you head into the content section of the course, you can actually add in the curriculum expectations. Select expectations, and then you have the option of selecting add or remove expectations. Now, the nice part about this is you can add your own expectations in if you're using your own learning goals. So remember, in this course, we're using LS1, add expectation, LS2, LS3, and you can create your own as you see fit, put your own descriptions inside there for those. You can also import them from an achievement standards network. So here, you can select the jurisdiction and go down to Ontario, select your subject, so math. I'm going to go from the grade 9 and 10, and I will select the MPM 2D course. Now this, if I select here, all of the curriculum expectations are going to come in from this course. You may not actually want that. What you may actually want is to not have all of the specific expectations, but you just want the overall expectations. In this case, you can go in and only select the expectations that you want. So if these are all overall expectations, then keep those in there. But you'll notice under here, you have B.1 overall expectation, but then these are specific expectations. If I only want to go by the overall expectations, I can deselect that and then just go through scrolling until I find all the overall ones. There's overall 2, there's probably an overall 3, and there's probably not an overall 4. Oh, there is. Okay, so overall 4, and then I'll import all of those. Now what you'll notice then is that all of those expectations are loaded inside here and you can see them. Now under the quadratic relations, you only have the 4 because those are overalls, but you see all of these are specifics. Specifics can get very overwhelming, so you may just want to stick with the overalls. Now, all of those expectations can then be tied to assessment pieces and your content. So if you do have a content file somewhere, you can actually come inside here, select View Expectations, and then you can edit your expectation alignments and toggle on which expectations that actually hits. When you save those changes, notice the percentage in your course actually increases because what you end up having there is tied curriculum expectations. You can do the exact same thing to assessments such as an assignment. So if you have an assignment, when you're in the assignment creation process, you'll notice underneath the title here, you'll notice there's this option for expectations. That only shows up if and when you've added expectations to your course. So you can then go in, choose which expectations this assignment will hit, and then save it. Now, this is actually the same place where you're going to create grade items. So I'm going to pass it over to Pete, and he's going to end up explaining that part.